Yes, and as your custom is for questions, this is when I get put on the spot, but I'm very happy to take your questions. Yes, go right ahead. Any questions? There's got to be one. I have a question. What are you going to do tomorrow? Because if you don't know today what you're going to do tomorrow, then you won't know on Tuesday either, or Wednesday or Thursday. If you don't plan, do you know what makes a leader? Man who plans, a woman who plans, a mother who plans. So what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to change tomorrow? What are you going to tighten up tomorrow? What are you going to swear that you're going to be more diligent at tomorrow? I ask that question every day. Every day. Where am I lacking? What do I need to do to fix it? And the list is a mile long. But you start with the first thing on the list, and then you go to the second thing, no matter how long the list is. So any questions? Yes, sir.
I actually have one. I'm always intrigued. They had a great leader, Moses. Then they had another pretty great leader. He wasn't Moses, but he wasn't bad, Joshua. And then after that, what do they have? So I always wonder, is this just kind of like a rejection of responsibility? Maybe they can say, well, give us Moses again and we'll be okay. Give us Joshua again and we'll be okay. But since God doesn't give us these great leaders, capital G, capital L leaders, well then what are we supposed to do? And it just always seems to me to be some sort of a rejection of personal responsibility when we need this kind of grand leader to keep us in line. And neither of those two, as you demonstrated this morning, were able to keep them in line. It wasn't the leadership, it was the personal responsibility that seemed to be that they rejected. I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yeah, both Moses and Joshua are great types of Christ, and yet they were failings, as you pointed out. They were the leaders of the people. And God shows that leaders, even throughout the book of the Judges, the leaders came, and when they left, the people fell away. Because the message is, even though they were types of Christ, they still were men and they still had faults. And the lesson that we learn is that no human being can be the perfect leader. But this is the Old Testament. Now what do we have? What does each of us have? The perfect leader. It's not Pastor Saint, not me, it's the Christ. Well, okay, where is the Christ? The children would say, well, he's in heaven. Well, no, he's not in heaven as if he's out there somewhere. He's dwelling, his presence is with, like it was with Israel in a physical manifestation, his presence is with each and every one of us and dwelling in us, and here, when two or three are gathered together. We have the perfect leader. But as you pointed out, Joel, the problem is not with the perfect leader. The problem is with the imperfect followers. And we need to recognize that Christ's leadership is undeniable, the perfection of his leadership is undeniable, and that we need to take a careful assessment of what is it that he's actually telling us to do day by day, long term. See, I honestly don't think we're reading the scriptures with the view to draw out of them what we need to fix or what we need to do on a daily basis. I think we need to go back to the scriptures and, for instance, this historical account in chapter 24. How have you read that? If you've read that recently or whatever, there's so much there. I could talk to you about that for another 2 years, just on chapter 24. What are the lessons learned there? But we read it as if it's just high school history and then we move forward. We don't see all the things that God is trying to flesh out for us because we're not reading carefully enough. We think that when we do our devotion on Sunday morning or in the morning, that we read a passage, we meditate, we say a little prayer. But believe me, if you read one verse, or if you read a whole chapter in one sitting, there's something wrong. You're like, well, Pastor, what do you mean? You cannot ingest a whole chapter. maybe one verse, maybe two. And that's how you should recognize what when God is saying, I am the light of the world. Okay, well, you could think on that all day and figure out, okay, if you're the light of the world and the light is in me and the light is in the church, why are we so messed up? What's happening? And you could go with that and think of that. Reading the scriptures takes careful meditation. And I don't think we're looking for the answers. One other aspect of leadership is a non-leader will discuss the problems, and that's pretty much all they discuss. A true leader sees solutions to the problems and then acts on a strategy and a tactic to fix the problem. If there's a problem, we don't talk about it all day long, we fix it. And if we try to fix it, and we're doing the same thing to fix it over and over and over, and it's not being fixed, obviously, can someone tell me what's wrong? It's not the solution. We have to think, well, maybe I've misunderstood what the solution is. Let me go back to the scriptures. Our life as Christians is all about solving the problems of culture. And part of that will come through the generations. So when we teach our children, we have to teach them how to solve problems, cultural problems, day-to-day problems, so that they're able to build the kingdom. They look at a problem, they don't see a problem, they see a solution to the problem. That's what leadership is all about. And that's how we have to start thinking about the world. What are the solutions to the world? Just pick one. We're not all called to fix all the problems of the world. Maybe you moms, you've got the problems of the world right in your house, okay, with your children. That's your ministry there. Don't think about writing to your congressman because it's a waste of time. Okay. But you teach your children about the importance of good governance, starting with cleaning their room or personal hygiene or helping siblings with math or whatever. That's your dominion right there, okay? And if you shirk your responsibility as a mother and you go out into the world to fix the world, then God will not bless you. I tell you right now, God will not bless you. Sometimes we think, well, there's so many problems in the world. I have all these little kids. I got to get them into the world. Well, wait a minute. Okay, as long as you're not hindering their training and everything, and you're doing that as a service, yeah, great. They need to learn that you got to be out in the world too. But your dominion is home. Train your children to be cultural warriors. Teach them. That's your mission. I mean, that's your mission. And that's the hardest thing in the world. That's why fathers love to go to work, because they don't want to deal with that stuff at home. But that's where that's where the real work is. Okay. Any other questions? Or yes, sir.
You alluded to this. Maybe you can say a little bit more about it. What do you see as the relationship between faithfulness and grace in a lot of these Old Testament covenants, like in their pseudo style? Faithfulness appears to be a condition of blessing, and yet at some points it doesn't really seem to be the condition. So
it's never a condition of blessing. The faithfulness comes by the work of God in the heart of man. Okay, grace produces faith. Okay, man is unfaithful by nature. Without the new birth, they cannot be faithful and they cannot be obedient. They might be obedient to the things that are convenient, like many Christians today. They're obedient to the things that are convenient, but faith is a result of grace. Once grace is conferred, or once an individual is a recipient of God's grace, they are called to be consistent in their fidelity. They have been freed from the bondage and the dominion of sin, and now they can choose the good or the evil. Just like when Adam could choose the good or the evil. Once he fell, mankind could only do one thing, choose the evil, because they had been defiled. Okay, the heart of man then became desperately wicked. They were dead in sins and trespasses. But the result of true grace is the consistency of faith. Now, that doesn't mean that sometimes you're going to be fearful or your faith is small or it's weak. It doesn't matter. We go through those things. But you regain your footing. And through sermons, through encouragements, and sometimes we think our faith is small. It doesn't matter if our faith is small. It matters that we have faith at all. So grace produces faith. Yeah, good. And who wants to see? Yeah, that did cross my mind, but I didn't see it. Thank you. So there is no such thing as faith without grace. Okay? Faith is a result of grace. True faith is a result of true grace. Did that answer your question? Yeah. So in Israel, I believe that most of Israel during Joshua's day were faithful. They were recipients of grace, which is quite interesting because why did they apostatize? Well, think about it. Have you ever apostatized for a moment? Have you ever made peace with Canaanites or the enemy? We do those things. Does it mean we're not saved? Not necessarily, no. No. It's the pattern. See, if we have a pattern of infidelity, if we have a pattern of worldliness, if we have a pattern of choosing the evil or excusing or self-justifying, now we've got problems. Now there's problems. Now you have a spiritual problem. Okay, so as ministers, we look for patterns. We don't look for someone who fell into sin or had an anger moment. My goodness, have you ever had an anger moment? Not me. I never have anger. I'm never bitter, because I'm perfect. It's crazy stuff, But what's the pattern? Is our pattern always angry? Is our pattern always bitter? It's always judgmental? Is it always Phariseeism? No, of course not. Not if we're Christians. No, we're gonna get chastised if we don't come to our senses before God spanks us. But grace begins everything. You must be born again for any fruit of righteousness. But if you don't see the fruits of righteousness, you don't see the fruit of righteousness, the fruit of the Spirit, and you see the work of the flesh, then you have cause to be concerned. That's what it means to examine yourself. And that perhaps is the hardest thing. You men, you have it easy. Your wife examines you always. So thank God for her, because she'll tell you where it's at. And that's your role, ladies. Okay, any questions, comments? Well, it's nice to see you again. It's great to be here. I'm glad I could speak to you today, give Pastor Saint a little moment of pause, and please pray for us back at home with our church and as we pray for you. So thank you. I think the next hymn. Yeah.